Hello. Today's video is a flow and we're going to get into the hips. So not a super fast-paced flow, not meant to feel super difficult. What I want you to think about is what's going on in your hips. So we're going to spend maybe a little more time in the postures than you might in a fast-paced flow, because I really want you to settle into the postures at least the first time that we go through them. So I've got a couple of blocks and a large bolster here, which I recommend you have beside your mat if you have them available to you. If not, you could use a couple of rolled blankets or folded blankets or towels would also work. We're going to do a little supported restorative ending today. So we'll actually get started on our backs. So if you've got your props, just push them a little bit away from your mat so that you've got some space. Work your way down onto your back. And you can start here with your legs bent if that's more comfortable. You can even separate the feet, letting the knees come together. Or you can stretch your legs out. We'll release the arms down to start. Finding a comfortable position. If you need some support here, you can go ahead and use that. I'm a big fan of using props and supporting your body when it feels good. We'll take a moment to settle in, letting your body weight settle down onto your mat. And start to connect with your breath here. Following your natural breath for a couple of rounds. Noticing how you're breathing. And then we'll start to look for a deep but comfortable rhythm. Breathing through the nose. And by comfortable, I mean a rhythm of breath that you can sustain through your practice. So we don't want to feel like we're struggling for air. Inhaling slowly, deeply through the nose, and exhaling slowly, fully out through the nose. And we'll keep the same rhythm of breath as we start to move. So if they aren't already, we'll go ahead and stretch the legs out, down onto the mat. And then I'm going to lift my arms back behind me. And on an inhale, I'm going to stretch my arms and legs in opposite directions, lifting my chest. Arching gently through the back. And then exhaling, release, let the arms and legs soften. And we'll do that a couple more times with the breath. Inhaling, stretching, lifting the chest, gentle arch in the back. And exhaling, release. One more time here. Inhale, stretching, and exhale to release. And then we'll grab the left wrist with the right hand, and we'll gently pull the arms over to the right, just as far as you can without the shoulder blades lifting. So we're starting with some gentle stretching, working through the 6 actions of the spine. From here, I'm going to bring my left foot over to my right foot and then release the legs. So I'm in sort of a moon shape or a banana shape here. Gently opening through the left side of the body. And we'll take a couple of deep breaths again through the nose. And then we'll inhale, arms back to center. Exhale here. And inhale the left foot back to the left. And exhale here. Switch your hands, so my left hand is grabbing my right wrist now. Inhaling, pulling my arms over. And then I'll bring the right foot over to the left. And then I'll release through the legs again, making sure the shoulder blade didn't come off the mat. Also keeping the glutes on the mat. So we're not coming into our twist yet. We're just doing some flexion through the side body. And inhaling, I'll bring the arms back to center. And then exhale, releasing the hand. And inhaling, I'll bring the right foot back to the right. And exhale here. I'm going to bend into my legs one at a time. And bring my knees up into my chest one at a time. And inhaling, I'm going to open my right arm straight out to the right. Exhaling, bringing the knees down to the left. So I'm coming into a twist here with both legs. You only want to come as far as you can with the legs, still keeping the right arm and the right shoulder on the mat. So you could actually use a prop here if you wanted to under your left foot. I'm going to use my left hand on the right knee just to add only the weight of my hand. So I'm not actually pulling down. I'm just resting my hand here. Inhaling, I'll come back to center with the right knee, and then the left. Exhaling, I'll hug my knees into my chest. Inhaling, we'll open the left arm straight out to the left. And then exhaling, I'm bringing both legs over to the right, coming into the opposite side of my twist. Resting my right hand now on the left knee. Again, option to put a prop underneath your right knee. Gentle twist through the spine, keeping the left arm and shoulder relaxed on the mat. Inhaling, I'll bring the left knee back to center, and then the right. Exhaling, I'll hug both knees into my chest. I'm going to round through the spine now, lifting my head, lifting my shoulders, hugging the knees actively down towards my nose, bringing the nose up towards my knees. And then I'll release, just lowering the shoulder blades in the head. I'm going to do this a couple more times. I'm exhaling, pulling the knees in, lifting the neck, lifting the shoulders. Head is soft through the shoulders though. And lower down on your inhale. And we'll do that one more time. Exhaling, curling into a tight little ball. And we'll inhale to release. Resting shoulders and head, and then releasing the legs. Feet coming down to the mat one at a time. Keep the feet wide here, about the width of your hips. And we're going to start with the right hand on the right knee. So my knee's coming up to meet my hand. I'm going to relax through the hip, through the leg. Left hand will stay. Left foot stays connected with the mat. And I'm just going to circle this right leg using my right arm to do those circles. So my sacrum, glutes stay connected with the mat. The arm is controlling those circles. And then we'll go back the other way. So we're just letting the leg bone rotate in the hip socket. And we'll come back to center, and then we'll bring the right foot down, so try and keep it that same width, about the width of your hips, and we'll do the left side. So knee comes up to meet hand. Hand is actively holding on to the knee here. My right arm is going to rest My right foot stays connected with my mat. Soften through the shoulder, and it's the left arm that's controlling these circles. Noticing now what it feels like to move the left leg bone in the hip joint. And we'll go back the other way. You might notice this side feels different. And coming back to center, then we'll lower the left foot down to the mat. So a couple of options here to come up. You can hug your knees in, rock forward and back until you're seated, or you can roll onto your side and use the strength in your arms to push yourself up. And we're going to come right onto all fours here. So I'm going to be about in the middle of my mat. My knees are lined up with my sit bones, and my feet are in line with my knees. So if I look back at my knees, I can't see my feet behind them. The hands are right under the shoulders. And we're going to do some cat-cow breathing here. So inhaling, I'm just going to soften through the spine and notice how the tailbone lifts automatically. And then I'll actively lift the chest, head, and gaze. Bring your eyes into this. Exhaling, I'm pushing actively down into the mat, rounding through the spine, releasing my head by relaxing through my neck. Inhaling to arch. And exhaling to round. Try and keep the shoulders soft here. So most of this movement is through the spine. Moving with the rhythm of your breath that we connected with at the start of our practice. And inhaling, we'll meet back in a neutral spine. I'll take one hand length of a step forward with my hands. So my hands are coming forward one hand length. And then I'll start to connect with my core as I inhale, maybe tucking the pelvis just a tiny bit, coming forward into a plank here, leaving my knees on the mat, right? So avoiding this arch in the back, trying to line up the hips in between the shoulders and the knees. And then I'm pushing back with the glutes, with the hips, coming all the way into a child's pose. Moving with my breath, inhaling, rounding a little bit through the low back, connecting with the core, shoulders over wrists, and exhaling, pushing back into my child's pose. And we'll do a couple more with the rhythm of your breath. Moving through the hips here in different directions. And inhaling, we'll come back to meet at neutral. I'm going to slide my hands back a little bit so they're back under my shoulders. And I'm going to keep moving from my hips, but this time I'm going to do circles. So I'll send my hips to the right, back towards my heels, to the left, and then forward a little bit, coming over the wrist if it feels okay. Then I'll send my hips back to the left, back to heels, to the right, and come forward again. And I'll switch the direction of my circle every time I come to the front, really leading with the hips. Noticing what it feels like, noticing if maybe there are any spots that are asking for a little more attention. We'll do one more circle here. And then come back to center. So my knees are still under my sit bones. My hands are still under my shoulders. Inhaling now, I'm going to tuck my toes. Exhaling, I'll lift from the hips, coming up, and then sending my weight back, coming into my downward facing dog. And we'll start just by stretching out the backs of the legs. So I'm going to bend into one leg, and then the other. Let the hips move around if they want to here. Notice if one leg feels different than the other. And then we'll take little steps forward, bringing feet to hands, keeping the legs bent to start. I'm going to round up, but I'm going to connect with my core here to protect my back. So my legs stay bent, core is engaged. Head comes up last, legs stay bent until I come all the way up with the head. We'll do one big circle back with the shoulders. I'm going to come to the top of my mat now. So I'm about a foot length behind the very edge of my mat. Bringing my big toes together, maybe a little space between the heels. Connecting with the feet, pushing down into 2 points, so one on either side of the front of the foot, and 1 point in the center of each heel. So connecting with those 3 points in both feet. I'll extend my arms down, leaving some space between hands and hips, coming into my mountain pose. So my fingers and my palms are stretched out here. Shoulders are down and back. Core is engaged. Chest is a little bit lifted, but the ribs are tucked in. Pushing down into those 3 points in the feet, lengthening up through the top of the head. And we'll start with some sun salutations. So sun salutation A. Inhaling, reaching back and up, palms come together. Exhaling, bending into the knees as we fold forward. Using your blocks here if you want. Inhale, halfway lift. So we're lengthening through the spine. Exhaling, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Lifting the chest, reaching back. Palms together. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's do one more of these half sun salutations. Exhale, fold. Inhale for your halfway lift. Hands can stay down. Exhale, soft knees as we inhale, coming up. And exhale, hands to heart. Full sun salutation now. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling, I'll step back. I'm actually going to come onto all fours here for the first one. Inhaling, we'll come back into that plank that we did earlier, and then exhaling, I'm pointing the elbows back, so keeping them tucked into my body as I lower all the way down. Inhaling, I'll come into cobra, so elbows again stay tucked in, pushing into the palms, lifting the chest. Exhale, lower down. Inhaling, lifting from the hips. I'm coming through all fours, tucking the toes, and exhaling, lifting the hips up and back, coming into downward facing dog again. So, option to keep stretching through the backs of the legs if you want a little movement here. I want you to think about pushing into the palms, all 10 fingers, shifting your weight back towards your heels. Maybe a little bend in the knees here so you can get some extension through the front of the upper body. So that bend in the legs is going to help from keeping your weight up here, which is more like a plank and can feel hard on the wrists. Make sure you're connecting with at least the 2 points in the front of each foot. We'll bend deep into the knees and step. Feet forward to hands. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhaling, fold. Inhaling, we'll come all the way up, soft knees. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, reach back and up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling, I'm going to step back this time into a high plank. So this is another option. Inhaling, I'll shift my shoulders forward. Exhaling, I'll bend into arms, so I'm coming down through a chaturanga, but I'm not holding it. Inhale to my cobra again, shoulders down away from the ears. Exhaling, I can come through all fours and into my downward facing dog. So thinking about pushing the heels down towards the mat, pushing the weight back, chest towards knees, connecting with your breath here. Then we'll bend into the knees again, stepping feet to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhaling, we'll come all the way up. Exhaling, bring hands to heart. One more of these. Inhale. And exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling this time, I'm going to step back into Chaturanga. You can do either of the other two options that we already did. Inhaling, I'm coming into my upward facing dog. Try not to hyperextend the arms. Exhaling, lift from the hips like we've been doing. Sending them up and back. Finding your downward facing dog. And we'll take 3 breaths here. And then bend into the knees. Step feet to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, coming all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart. Do sun salutation C now. Starting the same way. Inhale. Exhale to fold. Inhale for your halfway lift. Exhaling, we'll step the right foot way back. And then we'll lower the right knee down. I'm going to tuck my right foot, sinking my hips down and forward. I'm inhaling the arms up. Exhaling, I'll plant my hands, tuck the toes of my right foot, and I'm stepping all the way back with my left foot into downward facing dog. Just for a sec. Inhale, coming forward into my plank. And exhaling, I'll lower down. Inhale for cobra. And exhale to downward facing dog, lifting from the hips. Inhaling, I'm stepping forward between the hands with my left foot. Lower the right knee down, tuck the foot, and raise the arms up, sinking forward and down with the hips. Exhaling, I'll plant my hands beside my foot. Tuck the toes, push so you can step or hop until the right foot meets the left here. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale to come all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart. And now we'll do the left side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling, I'm stepping way back with the left foot. Coming into my lunge here, lowering the knee down, tucking the foot down if you want, sinking the hips down and forward, reaching up on your inhale. Exhale, plant the hands. Step back straight into downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale for cobra. And exhale, back to downward facing dog. Inhaling, I'll bring the right foot between the hands. Left knee comes down now. Reaching the arms up as I sink the hips forward and down. Exhaling, I'll plant my hands. Push into the left foot. So here, hopping or a big step, you want to shift your way into that right foot. Feet meet, inhale. Exhale, fold. And inhale, come all the way up. Exhaling, hands to heart. So that was one. We're going to do one more. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step way back with the right foot. Lower the knee. Sink the hips. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, plant the hands. And step back. Inhale to plank. And exhale, lower. Inhale for cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot between the hands. Sink the hips, raise the arms. Exhale, plant the hands. Step or hop forward, feet meet. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart, left side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, step the left foot way back. Lower the knee. Sink the hips. Inhale. Exhale, plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward. Lower the knee, lower the hips, arms come up. Exhale, plant the hands, step or hop forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale to come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. We'll be doing a balance here before we move on to our first sequence. So I'm going to turn so you can see me, but you can stay facing the front of your mat. Start with the feet right together. Finding those 3 points again in the feet, pushing down into them, lengthening through the top of the head. I'll start in mountain pose here. So palms forward, fingers stretched out, pushing evenly into those feet. And then I'll lift the right heel. And then I'll use my core to bring the knee up towards my chest, okay? So option to stay right here. If you want, bring the hands around the knee. So not leaning forward, keep the chest lifted. Hands come around the knee or around the leg. And use the biceps to lift the knee closer to the chest. I'm still pushing down into that left leg. And I'm still lengthening up through the top of my head. The rest of the steps, also optional, like everything in our practice. I'll inhale, opening my left arm straight out to the left. And then I'll exhale, gently opening the right knee out to the right. So keeping that stretch in opposition from the left foot through the top of the head. And I'll also stretch in opposition from the left fingertips through the right knee. Inhaling, I'll come slowly back to center. Release the arms down, leg stays up, and then exhale, extend. Inhale, lower down, and shake the legs out. Take a breath, and we'll do the other side. Feet start right together again, connecting with the 3 points in each foot, lengthening up, coming into my mountain pose. So chest is lifted, core is engaged, ribs tucked in. Reaching down through the fingers, pushing down through the feet, lengthening up through the spine. And then I'll lift the left heel. And I'll engage the core to start pulling the knee up towards the chest. So staying right here, that's what I feel like I need today. Otherwise, I can reach for the knee, keeping the chest lifted, keeping the shoulders soft, actively hugging the knee in. Breathing here, finding your balance before you move on. And if you want, inhaling the right arm out, stretching through the fingertips, and then exhaling, opening through the left hip. Keeping that stretch in opposition vertically, and now adding the horizontal one. Breathing. And then we'll bring the knee slowly back to center, arm to center. Hug the knee in, then release the arms. And exhaling, extend the leg. And inhaling, lower down, slowly shake the legs out. All right, we'll come back to the tops of our mats for our first sequence. Finding in those 3 points through the toes, starting in our mountain pose. And we'll inhale, arms back and up. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling, stepping back for the vinyasa. So I'm going to come into chaturanga, but you can do any of the other options that we did before. Inhaling for your back bend. Exhaling, lifting hips up and back. into downward facing dog. Inhaling here, I'll lift the right leg. And exhaling, I'm bending and stepping through, bringing my foot down to the mat. I'm going to leave the left heel lifted, but I will sink the hips down. So I'm coming into a runner's lunge. My arms are coming up, reaching up through the fingertips, but the shoulders are soft. And then I'm going to exhale, turning my left foot to 90 degrees, lowering my arms to shoulder height, palms face down, bending into the right knee, coming into my warrior two. My gaze, my drishti is at my right middle finger. Try and engage the core here, taking a little bit of the arch out of the low back. And again, the shoulders are soft away from the ears. Make sure that your right knee is still pointing the same direction as your toes. Keeping the hips low, I'll bring the left hand to the back of the thigh and inhaling, turning the right palm up. I'm going to reach back and up. Sink a little deeper down into those hips. Shoulders again are soft. Inhaling, I'll come through my warrior two. Exhaling, I'm coming into side angle. So again, sinking the hips down. Maybe widening your stance if you need. I'm going to reach up and over with the left arm. So I'm looking for a straight line between the left fingers all the way down through the side of the body into the left heel. Try not to sink into this right shoulder. So I'm pushing down with my elbow, lengthening up. And on an exhale here, I'm going to engage the core. Plant my hands on either side of the right foot. Come onto the toes of the left foot and lower my knee down. Tucking the foot, keeping the hips down and forward. I'll come up, inhaling with the arms. Really letting the hips sink down here. If that's too intense, you can bring blocks into your practice here and support yourself using the arms. From here on an exhale, I'm bringing my palms together. Bending my arms, palms to chest, and then I'll twist to my right. So I want to keep the hips down and forward just like we've been doing. My right elbow is trying to point up towards the sky, and I'll push gently into the right thigh with my left elbow, bringing my drishti also up to the sky. On an inhale here, again, engaging through the core, reaching up. Exhaling, planting the hands, tucking the toes. I'm stepping right back to downward facing dog. And we'll do the left side. So starting with our runner's lunge, inhaling, left foot between the hands. Right heel stays raised. Pushing down through 5 points in the feet now. Sinking the hips down and forward. Raising the arms up. Breathing here, finding your balance before we move on. Inhaling, and then exhaling, I'll turn the right foot, bringing the heel down, so foot's at 90. I'll turn my hips towards the long side of my mat, making sure this left knee doesn't come in, and I'll open my arms down to shoulder height. Drishti coming to the left middle finger here. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper with the hips. Pulling into the core, removing a little bit of the arch from the low back. And then I'll bring the right hand down to the right thigh, flip my left palm, and I'll inhale, reaching back and up, maybe sinking even a little bit deeper forward and down through the hips. Staying connected through the feet. And then inhaling through my warrior two again, and exhaling into my side angle. So sinking down, reaching up and over with the arm, looking for that straight line from right heel through right fingers. Shrugging out of the shoulders, long neck. Engaging the core, planting the hands on either side of my left foot, coming onto the right toes, lower the knee down. So right here, sink the hips down and forward and leave them there as you come up with the torso with the arms. So try not to come out of your lunge. Again, option to use your blocks here. In our final pose, on an exhale, bringing the palms together, palms to heart, twisting to the right now. So left leg is forward and we're twisting to the left. Left elbow is pointing up towards the sky, pushing gently into my left thigh with my right elbow. Shoulders soft, hips sinking down. Make sure to breathe. Engaging the core, I'll reach the arms back up. And exhaling, plant the hands, tuck toes, and step back into my downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. Bending into the knees, step feet to hands. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhaling, fold. And inhaling, we'll come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. We're going to do that sequence one more time, a little bit faster. Inhale. And exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back for your vinyasa, whichever option you want to do. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. Inhaling, lifting the right leg, bend the knee, and exhale, plant the foot, starting again in our runner's lunge, so the left heel stays high, arms come up. Take your time with this. If you want to move a little slower through the postures, you can. Exhaling, I'll turn my left foot, open the arms down, sink down, gaze at the right hand. Inhaling, bring the left palm back, reach up and over with the right arm. Inhale back to warrior 2. Elbow down, reach up and over, exhaling into your side angle. Plant the hands, come onto the toes, lower the knee. Inhale, arms up. Exhale into your twist. Let's take one breath here. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, plant the hands, step back. Downward facing dog. Left side, inhale into your runner's lunge. Left foot forward, right heel's raised, the hips stay down as the arms come up. Exhale into your warrior 2. Inhale, flipping the palm, reach up and over. Inhale, coming back through your warrior 2. Exhale into your side angle. Engage the core, plant the hands, come onto the toes. Lower the knee, inhaling, lift the arms. Exhale, come into your twist. Take your time. We'll do one breath here. Inhale, arms up, hips down. Exhale, plant the hands and step back to downward facing dog. And let's take 3 breaths here. Child's pose is always an option. You're always welcome to move around a little bit in the downward facing dog. We'll bend into the knees, step feet to hands. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhaling, fold. And inhale, coming all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart. We'll start with our second sequence. If you want to lengthen your practice, you could redo the last sequence a couple more times. Inhale, reach back and up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhaling, step back for your vinyasa. And we'll meet again in downward facing dog. Inhale, raising the right leg up, bending the knee, coming forward now. My right knee goes behind my right wrist. My right foot goes behind my left wrist. It doesn't have to be right up close, but you do want to get this right foot as close as you can to your wrist. And then we'll lengthen the left leg down behind us. So I actually like to turn around and make sure that my leg is parallel to the long side of my mat. And then I'll square my hips, bring my hands a little bit closer to my body to start. So this can be really intense on the hip or the glutes. If you want, you can use a block under the right side of the glutes, or you could put it under the left side of the hips. So the idea here is to let the hips just sink down, shoulders soft. I'm going to lift my chest. There's a little more weight right on top of my hips right now. We'll take a couple of breaths here. And then on an exhale, we'll lower the torso down. So two options here. You can come onto elbows, release the neck, relaxing the head. Or you can stretch the arms all the way forward and lower the forehead onto the mat. So again, that option to use the block or your bolster or a rolled towel or blanket here if you like. Try and soften down into this posture as much as you can. And we'll slide the hands back under the shoulders, pushing into the hands to lift the torso. Then we're going to sit on the right side of the glute. So if you've got your block there, go ahead and take it out. And I'm going to shift my weight all the way over to the right side. I'm going to pull my left leg forward. You'll stay facing the top of your mat, but I'm going to shift 90 degrees so you can see me. So you imagine the front of your mat. Your right knee wants to line up right in the middle of it, so also in the middle of your body. This left leg, we're going to see if it wants to cross over the right without lifting the sit bones. And this right foot, the heel is going to stay away from the glutes, so you're not sitting on top of your feet. So let's go ahead and see if this left leg wants to cross. It might not want to. If it does want to, we can see how far it wants to go with an option to come all the way into the posture, bringing knee on top of knee. Again, making sure the feet are separated from your glutes, so you're still sitting right on top of those sit bones. And I'll start here again on fingertips, just lengthening up through the spine, soften through the shoulders. As you settle into the pose, you might want to make this a little more intense. So again, totally optional. And that option is walking the hands forward a little bit. So we're increasing the pressure of the weight on the legs here, making that a little more intense. So if you want, you can bring the hands forward, and the passive version of this would include releasing through the spine, so letting the back round, and releasing the head. Inhaling, lengthen back up through the spine if you rounded. And we'll come out the same way we came in. So again, I'm going to shift 90 degrees back to the front so you can see what that looks like. So I'm here, and I'll bring the left leg all the way back behind me because I'm coming back through my pigeon pose. So planting the hands, squaring the hips to the mat, tucking the toes, and then lifting the hips up and back, coming into my downward facing dog. And then I'll do the left side, inhaling to raise the left leg, bend the knee, exhaling, coming into my pigeon. So left knee goes behind the left wrist, left foot comes behind the right hand, stretching the right leg back behind me. Again, turning to see if that leg is parallel to the long edge of the mat, and then I'll bring the hands a little closer, coming onto fingertips. Again, option to use your block here on either side, or even blocks underneath the hands if you like. Take a couple breaths here, letting the hips sink down, softening the shoulders away from the ears. And on an exhale, we'll let the torso come forward. So the options here are elbows on the mat, releasing the head, even elbows on blocks. And then the other one is stretching your arms out, resting the forehead. Using the block under the hips if you like, or your blanket, towel, or bolster. Try and really relax the neck here, soften through the shoulders, make this a pretty passive pose. And we'll slide hands back under shoulders, pushing into the hands to lift the torso. And this time we're going to sit on the left side of the glutes. So again, option to pull out that block if you've used it. And I'm going to turn 90 degrees so you can see me, but we're pulling this right leg forward. So your left knee is lining up with the top middle of your mat. Finding the sit bones, seeing if this right leg wants to cross over. So I've had to move my left foot out a little bit here so I'm not sitting on it. And then I'll see if the right leg wants to come over. So maybe bringing knee right on top of knee, but making sure that you're still seated on your sit bones. Got a little bit of space between your feet and your body. Fingertips might be on the mat here, lengthening up through the spine to start, softening the shoulders. Noticing if this side feels a little different. And then the option of walking the hands forward, which might make this a little more intense. So you could be here, or if you want to do the passive version, letting the spine round, releasing the head, and then softening through the shoulders and the arms as well. And inhaling will lengthen slowly up through the spine if you're grounded. And we'll come out the same way we came in. So I'm going to shift again towards the top of my mat. This right leg that's on top is coming all the way back behind us. Coming through our pigeon pose, planting the hands, squaring the hips, tucking the toes. Lifting the hips up and back, coming into our downward facing dog for just one breath. And then bending into the knees. We'll come all the way down to the mat with the knees. I'm going to cross my ankles here and sit back. You could also shift your feet off to one side if that feels better. So I'm coming to a seat on my mat, but I'm going to scoot forward so that I'm in the center of my mat. And then I'm going to stretch my legs out in front of me. So if this feels really intense or you feel like you are back here and unable to lengthen up through the spine today, a great option is to sit up on top of a block here. So that changes the angle of your pelvis, which will allow you to lengthen up through the spine. So you could sit on whatever prop you have. Find the sit bones here. We're going to start activating through the legs, activating through the feet. I'm going to push gently into my fingertips. They're a little bit forward of my hips, lengthening through the spine, lifting the chest. It's really similar to our mountain pose here. Pulling the ribs in, pulling the core in, soft through the shoulders. It's just my staff pose. So I'm activating the quads, actively flexing those feet. Take a breath here. And release. We'll bend the right leg now. I'm going to shift again so that you can see what I'm doing. You can stay facing the top of your mat. So sit bones on the mat, bending the right leg, keeping the foot right tucked into the left thigh. Here I'm going to open the knee out. And then make sure that your hips are square. So you might have to slide the left side of the glutes back a little bit so your hips are facing the top of your mat. I'll actively flex this left foot here, and I'm going to think about actively pushing the right knee down towards the mat. So not by pushing on it with my hand, by using my muscles here. Inhaling, I'll lengthen through the spine. Exhaling, I might fold forward. So hinging from the hips with a straight spine, lengthening through the top of my head, still my shoulders are down and back. So you could think about sending the chest towards the foot instead of sending the head towards the knee. We'll take a couple breaths here. And inhaling, we'll lengthen all the way back up through the spine. I'll bring the right knee up first, then bend the left leg and switch sides. So stretching through the right leg, lowering the left knee, the left foot's connected with the right thigh, squaring my hips towards the front, connecting with my sit bones, flexing the right foot, pushing down through the left knee, inhale, lengthen through the spine. And exhaling again, maybe hinging forward. If this is already enough of a stretch, we can stay right up here. Thinking about maybe sending the chest towards the foot. Staying really nice and long through the spine. Also make sure that the chest doesn't open out to the side with the leg, so the chest is square to the leg that you have extended. And inhaling, we'll lengthen back up through the spine. Left knee comes up, right knee comes up, feet are together, and we'll separate the knees. I'm going to leave about a foot of space between my heels and my pelvis. And I'll bring the thumbs to the balls of my feet just below the big toes. The fingers are going to wrap around the tops of my feet. Inhaling, I'll lengthen through the spine here, so maybe lifting the chest, shoulders down. And then exhaling, I'm going to pull my feet apart, so I'm pulling the big toes away from each other using my hands. And then I'll see if I have any room to fold. So we're going to do the active version again. So my spine is nice and long. My head is not lifted. My neck is in line with the spine. Shoulders soft. Sending my chest even a little bit forward of the feet now. And inhaling, I'll lengthen all the way up. Exhaling, bring the knees together. We're going to come down onto our backs to finish up our practice. I'm going to make sure that I've got my props, so my bolster or my blocks or my towels or blankets handy. So you want those about on either side of the middle of your mat. And we'll roll down gently onto our backs. Bring the feet down to the mat. And we're going to do a really similar posture here, but a supported version. So I'll bring my feet together. And then slowly open the knees away from each other. And so the support that I'm looking for is going to go under each leg. If you had your bolster, it would be here in the middle, supporting underneath both of those legs. So, as far as your support, if you're using one on either side, the closer it is to your hips, the more support you're going to have. If I bring this away from the hips, down the thighs towards the knees, you'll see that changes the position. So my legs were able to rest a lot further apart from each other there, which is also going to change the position of my spine. So I've created a little arch in the low back. So find a comfortable position. And you really want to make sure that the legs are supported. So my legs are fully resting here. If I've got the props too far away, the legs are sort of going to hover, and you're going to be engaging some muscles here in the hips. We want to soften down on the props. So I'm going to do my Shavasana arms here, separating my arms a little bit from my body. And then turn my palms to face up. Really releasing my weight down. You might want to bring the heels a little bit further away from the hips, but keep the feet together. So finding a comfortable supported position here, although you might feel a little stretch through the front of the hips. Make sure it's not intense enough that the muscles are engaging. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale all that air out slowly through the nose. Let your eyes fall closed here. Relaxing all of the muscles that you can. Letting your body be supported by your props and your mat and the floor. Letting the body get heavy. Noticing gravity gently pulling you down towards the floor. Maybe feeling like the muscles are melting a little bit into the mat, softening. Reconnecting with the breath here, starting to lengthen the exhales. Let's do 10 breaths here, inhaling slowly, deeply through the nose. Exhaling a little bit slower and fully through the nose. We'll do one more breath here. I'm going to move really slowly to come out of this. So I like to bring my hands under the legs. Some of the strength in my arms to push the knees back together slowly. Resting for a couple breaths with my knees together and the feet apart. And then I'll move my prop or my props off to one side. And we'll come right into our Shavasana, our final resting posture. So keeping the arms soft and relaxed, palms might face up, stretching the legs out if it feels okay on the back. If the legs are stretched out, soften through the hips again, let the knees roll out away from each other. You might push into the arms to lift the chest a little bit, bringing the shoulder blades together. And then release the whole weight of your body back down onto your mat, onto the floor. Finding your comfortable position here. Exhaling, letting the eyes fall closed again. Exhaling, releasing the whole weight of the body down. Softening through the whole body. Relaxing the breath back to a comfortable rhythm. Relaxing through the mind, releasing any thoughts. Feeling the whole body relax. Feel your whole body relax. Bring your awareness back to your body. And start to make small movements with fingers and toes. Might make circles with wrists and ankles, gently waking up the body. You might roll the head side to side. And then inhaling, stretch the arms back behind you, stretch the legs in front of you, lifting the chest gently, stretching the whole body, and exhaling, release. And gently bend into one leg, and then the other. Hugging both knees into the chest. Rocking gently side to side. And then all the way over to one side, resting for a moment. When you feel ready, using the strength in your arms to push yourself back up to a comfortable seat. You might be sitting up on top of a prop. Finding the sit bones one more time, resting the hands, lengthening up through the spine. Softening through the shoulders. Let your eyes close for another moment here. Noticing how you feel now that your practice is over. And we'll join our palms together in front of our hearts. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.